We are here, and we are about to start Endwar 2022 at Maritime Foam. We ready for some HvZ?
I can't possibly die any faster than last time. I'm ready. I'm ready. I will survive.
Hey everybody, who's up for thoughts on Endwar months after everybody else? You are? All right, let's talk about it. I will be sprinkling in a little bit of footage from Boomstick Mods and from Dart Sweep. They were kind enough a long time ago to share some footage of me for me to sprinkle in. They always have amazing wrap-ups of different games. If you're looking for an idea of what it might be like to go to a big Nerf event, you should follow their channels, check out their videos, and you will want to go to an event. I guarantee it. I took a little bit on the day, but not a whole lot. I did a few short videos. Hello, Bangor.
I feel like I have to.
Oh, Augusta. In Utica. My kind of place. So cool to try this out.
So awesome. Free stickers?
The Takeflight.
I don't know.
Crazy 2 year being here.
Nice job. Massive death down there thanks to a zombie in a bush. Holding the zombies back while the objectives get completed. Man, we got him. That's awesome. Yeah. So many zombies coming.
Welcome to the horse.
Thank you. Last stand. Up for this event. I mostly was just trying to be there, be in the moment, and not worry too much about filming. I wanted to stay alive longer than I did in Grove City. And I did. I was really excited this year to go to Foamcon and Endwar and to watch some of the Dart Zone Pro Tournament. Just before heading for home, I actually got to see some of the Dart Zone Pro Tournament. This is my kind of sports. I got to run with Team Frumble and other folks at Endwar. Teams are getting ready. The Dart Zone Pro Tournament here in Rochester. Just a couple of guys watching some sports, you know?
Impressive group of players.
Rooting for Team Frumble here.
We drove a long way to Sanford, Florida.
Awesome.
We're gonna practice. For me, I can't, like, even a Tomcat, this thing I'm excited for, and that.
Super pumped for the Tomcat.
Look at that, look at that.
That's amazing. Through the gate again.
2 successful flag pushes, and that's a strategy that carried you guys through the qualifiers.
Search Dart Zone Pro Tournament to learn more about it. It's also kind of funny. I was talking to Derek from Dart Zone, and I've done a couple of streams with him on TikTok, and we probably actually met at Foamcon. That's kind of cool. I probably met a couple people at the con in passing that, you know, I talked with later on even more. I mean, I know that happened. I actually have pictures of people that afterwards I'm like, oh wait, I follow them on Instagram or I follow them on YouTube. It was a pretty cool weekend, a pretty long drive for me, about 16 hours. But I made that journey because I want to be more physically part of the Nerf community, not just online. Although online is awesome because that's how I've met so many people. By now, we all know there were a lot of conflicting thoughts and opinions on Endwar.
Maritime Foam, what do you think?
I mean, it's been good. It's nice seeing a game with so many more people. Definitely some more mission briefings and some details, but whatever. It's fun. We're out here with our toy weapons. We're shooting zombies. It's not a bad time.
Good. What are you expecting for day 2?
Oh, a lot of sweat. I wore black so I can hide just myself melting a little bit more than yesterday. So just so I can keep looking cool. In the end, I had a ton of fun. I had an experience that I've never had before, having that many people all partaking in this great big group game, letting you live out your zombie apocalypse dreams. Is it okay to call them zombie apocalypse dreams? That's not what we dream of.
We're in a very large platoon.
You making fun of my weight, dude?
Watch the Zeds on the bridge.
Behind us, behind us.
Hit! Hit!
It was quite an experience. And, you know, again, always want to be kind when giving feedback because so many people put so much work and just so much time, more time probably than any of us can even imagine into it. There was lots of good about that weekend. There are some things that I definitely had some thoughts on, and I know lots of people did. Before we get into the actual games and the event, I want to talk a little bit about some memorable things for me and say a couple thank yous. Right off the bat, I want to say a big thank you to Evan, who's part of that whole Maryland group of Nerfers. He reached out on Instagram, asked if I had people to play with, invited me to hang out, play with them. It was really kind, and it gave someone coming such a long way who hasn't been in that community very much, some people to kind of hang out with right away and to see, and it was really, really appreciated. I was getting some food outside of Foamcon. I was at a food truck getting my food, and I didn't really want to go back through security again, so I was just going to go maybe buy my vehicle and have it. And he called out and said, hey, come on over, join us, with a group of people sitting on the ground, having a bite to eat. It's just one of the nicest things you can do to invite someone over and make them feel like they have a place to be when they are not in their element. I don't mind making videos, and I'm not shy in front of a camera. But, you know, if I don't know a lot of people, I'm not likely to go out into the middle of the room and be like, hey, look at me. Another special thanks to Al the Geek. Al was kind enough to be my Endwar buddy most of that weekend. We hung out quite a bit. I've been a big fan of Al since I kind of got into the hobby, and seeing this guy's cool Road Warrior style gear. Pretty cool to now be able to call that famous guy to me a friend. That's a cool thing about our smaller niche hobby communities, is like you can meet your celebrities that you're big fans of pretty easily, and that's an awesome, cool thing. Also, before I get into Endwar, I want to talk for a minute about Foamcon. Foamcon was a pretty cool thing to see. Here's a little program around Foamcon. Look at that. Look at me in there. I have a page. I was asked if I could put in a page, and I did. And it was kind of cool to do that. I think maybe next year when I go, maybe I'll try to have some sort of table. I think if I am able to have a Maritime Foam zone booth at Endwar next year, you know, maybe I'll have a bunch of 9-volt mods, a bunch of kind of lower end or, you know, lower FPS, just goofy stuff that people can play around with, maybe hang out, talk, plink at some targets. I just had such a good time. I'd like to be a bigger part of it. Who knows? Maybe I'll be demoing some XL gauntlets. You never know. I really enjoyed Foamcon. I found it a little bit intimidating. You know, a lot of people there kind of knew each other. When you're kind of going from booth to booth, it wasn't like, you know, other trade shows that I've been to where everyone's really trying to sell you something. It's very much, there's stuff for sale and people are selling things, but it's a lot of hanging out too. So it was a little bit intimidating, but it was really, really cool to see. And I want to make sure I go to that again and be a bigger part of it if I can. One kind of embarrassing anecdote from Foamcon. I went over to the Silver Fox Industries table. I'm a big fan. I got one of these shirts. I've loved this shirt since I saw it on Out of Darts. And I went over, got a shirt, said hello, tried out a Lynx, tried out a Gecko, because I've seen a ton about those, but I actually hadn't tried any of them out. So that was kind of cool. So I did that. Tried out the Lynx and realized I've seen a lot of videos, but I didn't actually know how to release the mag. So I was kind of fumbling with it a little bit. And they're like, oh, here's what you do. And I did that. And I ended up, I just not thinking, because I was just a little bit nervous, I dry fired it. And, you know, they were like, you can't dry fire those. And I was like, I know. And I just wanted to crawl under the ground and crawl away. So I basically did that and then stayed away. It's easy to get embarrassed at those things. And that's why it's so nice when people are so welcoming. And no one was like a jerk about it. They were just like, ooh, you can't do that, which I don't blame them because you can't. I wanted to be like, I know you can't. I'm so sorry. So yeah, just one of those weird little things that kind of just stuck with me. You're all excited to like go around and like see all these people that you've seen online, and then you do something dumb. But that is life. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. This is just something at Foamcon I got a huge kick out of. There were metal detectors and they scanned you going through, which is kind of a sad commentary on things. But the part that did kind of make me chuckle a little bit is everyone going through and disarming themselves of all of their Nerf and other brand weapons. It was like going into an old-timey saloon or something with everyone disarming and putting mags in. That just kind of amused me. I want to be careful shouting out too many people around Foamcon because, man, I don't want to leave people out. I do want to say it was really cool to hang out with all the members of Team Frumble. Again, got this cool Rex Tech patch. All those folks, super friendly, invited me along when people were going for food or going for drinks or whatever. Really, again, really appreciate it. Especially, I know, these people are going, they're hanging out, they're kind of on a vacation. So it's really appreciated that they invited someone along. Met the one and only Clowny in person recently. He feels bad because he doesn't remember. And that's okay. We had a good chat. He said that made it worse that we had a good chat. It was really cool to meet Toys on the Side. We've actually chatted a bunch since over Instagram, have some stuff in common, so really kind of cool. It was awesome to see Builder BB again. We chat fairly often. I just know him from Nerf. He's in that small number of people I know online that we've actually played games together, and that's awesome. It was good to see the Detroit Dartworks guys again. Those guys also super friendly. They had me on their podcast. That was really cool. We chatted a bit. Did a little video with Alex on the rival takedown blaster that he converted to be a solenoid build, the Takeflight. Just looks like a regular old takedown. What is this? Solenoid powered Takeflight. That is so awesome. I love when people mod blasters in ways that were never intended. And that's just what Alex did. He's being pretty humble when he says he jammed things inside of it. There's a lot of awesome work that went into this. Plus, he's a super friendly guy.
Hey, I'm Detroit Dartworks, Alex. This is my new thing, the Takeflight. I took a takedown, I shoved a magwell on the side, and I shoved flywheels inside of it. So it's solenoid driven micro flywheels. The ones I do use the new band blasters, 42K motors for perfect HvZ spec. So
That's awesome.
it's really cathartic to shoot. You can check these out on my Etsy store. I'll be having some pre-builts up. The file sets are already available for $10 if you want to print and build your own. My Etsy is Detroit Dartworks, so check it out.
Yeah, saw a lot of cool things at Foamcon. It was really neat. It was cool to see all those mod parts just lining shelves, all the things that usually I would have to order and wait. It was so cool to just be able to buy that stuff. Part of me wishes I bought more. I bought a lot of Mega Darts, and I bought a lot of cool little things. Like I got that Dart Tag beacon. I got another second stock from Toys on the Side. I got a bunch of ammo, some Vortex discs. I probably could have went even crazier, but I was trying to be good. I don't know if it's totally what I expected. It was definitely very, very hobby centered, although it was nice that there, Dart Zone was there. There were some other brands there. It definitely seemed to be very performance oriented, which, I guess makes sense. It'd be cool someday down the road, some of our other more mainstream goofy brands could get in there, but I'm sure everyone would like that. But really, really good. Really cool to meet so many awesome creators. Oh yeah, finally got to get my hands on some Cobalt Design blasters too. Some of those phasers. Love all the design of those and have always kind of had an eye on those. So that was really cool to actually be able to pick some up and try one. I really need to actually get one and own one someday. This is already getting real rambly. I'll have chapter markers as per usual. It's really cool to meet Wake One on Instagram. He's commented on my channel a few times. We've chatted in the comments a little bit and we met. He actually picked up this cool Zombie Strike stock, commented that he would send it to me. Then he saw I was going to Endwar and we ran into each other in the parking lot. And I thought that was just so cool. What a nice guy. He's from Brooklyn area and does a lot of nerfing. And, still see him commenting on things, and that is really, really cool. And I met a few other people who had used my guides to actually do some builds. One person had a Raven, and it was so cool to talk to them, and they were saying how they went through the guide and found it really helpful. I always, whenever I talk about my Raven guide, I like to mention that I watched the American Foam guide to be able to do the build, and then kind of did a guide while I was doing it. My guide is basically just a version of his guide with a lot more mistakes and me talking through those mistakes. So all those Maryland Nerfer folks that I've met, really grateful to all you guys, the Team Frumble people, the Magic Smoke people. Really cool to meet Dart Sweep. Great to meet Boomstick Mods. Yeah, I had such a great time and I can't wait to do another big event like that. I wish I could have made it to Endwar this past weekend. There's just wasn't in the cards for a 16 or 17 hour drive for me this weekend right around this time of year, but next time, hopefully. I know there's a big event coming in the spring. I'm going to try to make it down to that for sure. Let's get into Endwar itself and my thoughts on that. I'm going to preface it by saying I had a great time. Great memories. It was well worth going. That said, for it being kind of the big flagship HvZ event, there are aspects of it that I probably didn't enjoy as much as I did Grove City College. And I know that, you know, there were some hiccups and stuff for that one too. I'm probably gonna go out on a limb and say there's always a few hiccups, there's always a few issues. I mean, that's probably the nature of these big, mostly volunteer ran events. I know it's like that in theater and other communities that I've been in. You know, things are rarely perfect. And that's okay. But yeah, let's talk about some of those hiccups. Actually, no, we're going to start with some of the good things. One of the good things, that Rochester campus was a cool place to do that. All the alleyways and cafe spaces and bridges and walls. It was like a little mini cityscape. I thought that was a cool place to play. I liked that part better than Grove City. Grove City was kind of so big and open and a lot of fields. You could really ambush people potentially in Rochester, and I thought that was really cool. I like the idea of the multi-pass, that you go through the different missions. I like objective-based stuff, so I was really glad to see that in there. I love that you got this little special edition coin. I thought that's kind of a cool little memento to give people. I think that's a nice touch. I'm sure that something as seemingly simple as this was probably a big pain to actually orchestrate and get made and give out. So kudos for doing an extra touch like that. The things that didn't work as well, and I guess this isn't really their fault. I kind of heard the rumor that very last minute, using a lot more indoor spaces for mission briefings and things like that was not an option, is kind of what I heard. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. So the briefing kind of took place outside. Briefing videos were released to your phone over Facebook and online. And then things started really quickly. I would say almost every mission, it was really hard to know what was going on. And there were a lot of confused people.
Let's move away from here and then watch the video.
Where? Watching it together? I need it.
Yeah. Sounds like it's not even up yet.
It just says find gates 1 through 5.
Let's move away from here, though. No one knows what they're doing. We're just walking. It's like Lord of the Rings. Just a bunch of walking.
Did I explain what's going on?
No.
I've been here for an hour. I've been here for an hour. He takes 5 cards every few minutes. Okay. When he takes your card, you get to be a zombie until 10 o'clock, and you're an automatic zombie, and you're automatically in mission 2. So the longer you're here, the more zombies there are.
Where's Drac?
Okay,
Where do we give him?
But until Drac takes your card, you don't get to mission 2.
Where's everybody else?
They're dead.
Shit.
Grove City was really nice. You actually had that mission walkthrough beforehand. It probably was a little bit long at points because there's always things to critique about everything. Again, I say all this lovingly. I know that if I was part of it, all these things happen. Everyone's doing their best, but I'm doing that YouTube thing where I talk about my opinions. So the mission briefings and the rules and everything were a little bit hard to follow. I'm going to back up one more step. Just talking about how the videos were released and Facebook and getting information online. As a Nerf community, we really need to accept the fact that not everyone gets all their information from Discord. Man, I found it really hard to find information about Endwar. If I didn't actually know people online who were going that I could ask questions, I would have been even more confused. Like even getting there and knowing where to park and where it was okay to park, where to go. It could really use a little microsite. Like, I know that's all time and more people to do it, but an easier online reference with maps and all of that stuff would certainly be appreciated. Something that could be bookmarked easier. If there was such a thing, I'm not aware of it, and neither were a lot of people. So back to the events and the mission. And again, I understand with so many people, it would be hard to plan the balance of everything. Mission 1, it kind of started, people weren't really sure what was going on, and then we were away. There wasn't really any action for a long time, and then there was a flurry of action with the mothership mission where everyone kind of had to get rescued and beamed up to the mothership, and that part was really fun. There's a lot of pandemonium. There was like a huge square or circle thing that people were all gathered in. There were a ton of zombies, but the difficulty kind of and this is the whole weekend, the difficulty swung so wildly. Nothing happened. Like, I remember Grove City first mission, and there were little easy things to accomplish pretty early on. I also was turned into a zombie really early on, but that's That's all my fault. At Rochester, I didn't fire a dart until the very end of mission 1. It took a while for things to get going, and then it was just pandemonium. So many people died. No, some of the people that died, that was all part of the plan. If they died because they weren't beamed up, they weren't actually dead. They were back in the game. But people didn't know that at the time, so that was causing it to be a lot of stress. But a lot of people just did die. They died for the entire weekend. My friend Wake One, who I was talking about, him and his girlfriend came. First event they'd gone to, they were so excited to go. They died in the first night. And that kind of brings me to a thing that might be kind of controversial, but something I think as kind of a newcomer to the whole thing. I don't know that events need to be consistent over the entire weekend. In Grove City, Friday night was just kind of a, hey, let's have a little test scenario. It was a hard, difficult scenario. Everybody died by the end of it. Kind of shook out the cobwebs, got people playing together, playing for fun. And if you did die early, you had another day. I love the idea in theory of kind of a whole weekend live action roleplay where you're kind of persistently going from thing to thing. I love that idea, but in practice with people coming so far, I went a long way, but it's not just me. A lot of people went a long way, died right away, and then, you know, all that fun picking out your loadout and all the prep you did is just kind of done. It's hard not to be sad. Like, you want to be a good sport. It can be real fun to be a zombie, but it is hard to die too quickly. I do think it'd be awful nice to give people 2 kicks at the can over that weekend. And you know what? If you die early both times, well, them's the breaks. So there's that part. So the actual objectives and the things you're doing, I'm not going to go scene by scene, breakdown by breakdown. Other people have talked about all that. I just want to give some high-level thoughts on my experience. Mission 1, a lot of people died. So many people died. There was another mission later that night. Some people were going out for a beer. I decided to go. Partly because part of the reason I am going is to hang out and meet people. So I'm like, it'd be good to go do a social thing. Plus I drove a long way the day before. So I was pretty tired. That's a tricky thing about going so far. But like, also I was terrified. To my previous point, I really wanted to make it into the Saturday. And a lot of people seem to skip it. I think just because the difficulty at the end of mission 1 was so high. Everyone was just like, what are we getting into? It was so high that a lot of people, kind of the rumor mill was going that they were going to reset it. So we get into day 2. We're there in the morning. That first mission of day 2, one of the most fun days I've maybe ever had. It was amazing.
Coming from the bushes! Bushes!
Behind you! Watch it! Got you!
The good side of so many people dying the previous day is there were zombies everywhere. They're hiding in bushes.
Everyone over there just died. There was a zombie. Good thing I can run.
They were hiding behind walls.
Got you.
They were in hordes doing pincer maneuvers.
All right, let's go.
Punch it up.
You want to take out those zombies first? We got zombies. There. One zombie in the statue. Got you. Don't let them coordinate. Take them out now. Fire!
They were coming up alleyways.
Pull! Back! Pull!
Hold them here.
Behind me. Back up, Larfield. Back up a little further. Walk back. Don't spend too much ammo. Walk back.
Welcome back.
It was like a video game, and it was the best. It was awesome. The only thing that makes me sad about it is that more people didn't get to experience how awesome it was having that many zombies, which kind of made me think, you know, in something where you have everything split up into different missions, I wonder if there's some way, I'm just thinking, and I know this would be super hard to police or do you have some sort of incentive for people? A shirt, a different coin? Is there a sponsor with like a whole bunch of blasters or some sort of like cool accessory or something that if you volunteer to be a zombie for a mission, or everyone volunteers for a mission to be a zombie, to just have those spiked up zombie numbers throughout the whole weekend to give more people a chance to kind of have that thrill of so many zombies. Like, I wonder if there's a way to incentivize people taking a zombie shift. You know, I just think that might be an interesting thing to think about. And maybe some places do that. Again, I've only been to 2. There is so much about all of this that I do not know. I don't think everything I'm saying is like the end all be all idea. I just want to have a conversation with you guys and share kind of my thoughts as someone who is a newcomer and hasn't been as entrenched into it. That mission, super fun. I ended up running around with Builder BB towards the end of that. We had a very heroic death. You know, we were into a spot where there was so many zombies. We fired off so many darts. I managed to get someone with a sock at the last minute. I went down, became a zombie, but I went down with my nightingale flying and socks going. I felt really good about my death. The night before, I should mention too, I ran a Percy's. I don't think I can afford to run Rival at an HvZ. Boy, it is expensive. I think next year I'm going to go dual Nightingales. I'm not even really talking a whole lot about equipment today. I'm more one to talk about experience. But night one, I did run a Percy's with a Mega Master Key. I kind of made that before I realized that Endwar doesn't have any sort of different ammo types. Like Grove City had a need for Mega XL, a need for Mega. Endwar does not do that. It just keeps it simpler with so many people, so I get it. As someone who loves those different ammo types, I was kind of like, oh, whatever. That didn't bother me too much at all. After I died, this was kind of a weird thing. Compared to Grove City, again, it's smaller, and the zombies definitely felt like more of an underdog because there were not very many of us. There's a lot more camaraderie as zombies at Grove City. In Rochester, at Endwar, it just kind of seemed like you became a zombie and you just kind of did whatever. My time as a zombie, I barely saw any people. Whereas at Grove City, there were different missions and scenarios where the zombies were just rallying and going kind of wave after wave after wave. Again, it's just that balancing with so many people that is so tough. I don't know that I enjoyed my zombie time as much at Endwar as I did. And maybe I would have if I'd been a zombie earlier, because there would have been more humans to pick off. But by the time I became a zombie and played in a later mission, I think the humans were few enough that you just kind of spent a lot of time wandering around, and the admins kind of ushered you around. I'm kind of sad that in the last mission, I missed it. And I wasn't the only one. A lot of us just were nowhere near where that mission ended and didn't know what was going on. That was a little bit of a bummer. It was pretty anticlimactic. And also, I think it could have ended later. It seemed weird that it ended so early in the day. It was like one of the best things ever for the first half of the day, and the last half of the day was kind of like, meh, what really happened here? Again, balance is hard. But that's what makes me wonder about, you know, does it have to be so continuous? It almost seems like a risky one to go to be your first one, especially if you have to go a long way. Maybe too, because there were so many more people. I did find at Endwar, in between missions, there was quite a gap. People left, they took off. People skipped a lot of missions too, maybe partly due to the difficulty, partly due to just kind of heat. People went so far. I found Grove City, people were kind of more there to play the whole time, whereas it was a little bit more come and go at Endwar. I'm not entirely sure. I did a little bit more coming and going too than I did at Grove City. Maybe I was just tired, or maybe it's just because I wasn't super engaged once it was time to be a zombie. I don't know. Again, had a great time, but some ups and downs there. One thing I'm going to say that was a pretty big turnoff is that I did have kind of a bad experience with a couple of the mods. Now, that would not be a fun job, and I'm sure with a crowd that big, I know that some people would be a pain and some people can be unreasonable, but wow, I had some super rude mods, you know, telling me to go here or go there. It's like, I'm 43, like I'm here to do a big giant fun nerf thing. I get that it's stressful, and I get that maybe someone's giving you a hard time not too long before I was there, but it just didn't seem like there was a whole lot of joy. And like one of the main mods, the attitude from that guy, I did not enjoy at all. It just seemed very smug. I didn't like that. I as someone coming such a long way and, you know, doing this thing with friends, I just witnessed a lot of attitude that I was there for the whole interaction, and it just didn't seem to be warranted. I don't know. It doesn't matter how great the hobby is. Sometimes power corrupts, I guess. And you know what? Maybe there's something going on I don't know anything about, but just for me, as a person who came in and went there, I was really turned off a couple times just by how a couple of the mods were. Lots of them were great. Like, I'm not saying like all the mods were bad. I had a couple bad experiences though, and I'm not someone who would have been giving anyone a hard time. Speaking of mods, I forget exactly what the mods were wearing, but they were almost indecipherable from other players. having something to make it a lot clearer a mod is a mod would have been really helpful. This is pretty rambly. I just wanted to at least touch on it because, you know, talk of Endwar and questions about Endwar next year are coming up. I definitely want to go and I want to support it, but I would say the whole point of this is fun, not to be a simulation of an actual zombie apocalypse. So how can we give people another chance if they've come a long way? Especially, I know it's a game too, you know, it's fair to say, well, that's what the game is, you know, take it or leave it. In my opinion, I think there could be a little bit of tweaking to that, but I'm very appreciative to everyone putting on that event. I'm not too cool for school. I was really excited to meet Captain Xavier for, you know, and chat with him for like a second at Grove City, and I would have liked to have gotten a little selfie with Drac, but he looked super busy. I can't imagine how busy that was with the Foam Pro tournament and Endwar going on at the same time. There would have been chances to, but it just felt more like bothering than I was comfortable doing, so just kind of let that go. I'm very appreciative of all that work that went into it. Oh, I guess I should mention too, the Foam Pro Tour. I enjoyed seeing that. If I had a long drive ahead of me, it was on Sunday. I stayed so I could see my pals in Team Frumble play. They won the one that I watched, so I was really glad that I saw that one. Not that they needed to win for me to be glad I stayed to support them, but it was cool to be able to kind of cheer them on. Some real pros and cons to having that the same time as Endwar. I think people were kind of fatigued by the time that came along. Like, I don't think attendance was that much higher because of Endwar. I don't think there was a whole lot of carryover, and because so many people died, I think a lot of people just took off early. But at the same time, if it hadn't been when it was, I probably wouldn't have seen any of it. I don't think I would have made a unique trip just to watch the Foam Pro Tour. At this point, it's just a big time investment. So I was grateful to be able to see a bit of it. Hoping next year, pretty sure that this will happen. I'm sure it'll get better and better. After talking to Derek at Dart Zone, I know there's a lot of kind of hopes and dreams around next year's tournament. I would love to see some more color commentary while the teams are playing, more replay cameras, more things like that. All things that take time, investment, and money. I'm sure they would have liked to have done those this year too. You got to start at a realistic standpoint. They'll want to figure out ways to speed things up or to speed up those replays or entertain people while footage is being reviewed. If somebody calls a tag in a question, everyone knows that. I'm not adding anything new to the conversation there. I think the main thing I wanted to mention from this video was I think Friday and Saturday could definitely be different days. Give people 2 lives. If they're coming all that way, give them a good reason to get up on Saturday, no matter what happens. Even though Saturday morning was the most fun ever, I would have rather had more people alive to enjoy it. But that takes me back to what can we do to ramp up those zombie numbers in some sort of artificial way so everyone can get a little bit of that. I might be totally full of it. You guys will tell me in the comments. I just wanted to touch on it. I'm so thankful to have gone. I will also never stay in downtown Rochester again. That was not a good place to stay. If you're watching this, downtown Rochester, I apologize. If we met and I forgot to mention anything, I'm really sorry. It's really late. I just kind of spontaneously decided to talk about this because it's been on my list forever. And if you're going next year, hit me up beforehand. If you see me there, come over and say hello. I want to meet more people in this awesome hobby. And if we chat online in some capacity, I definitely want to meet you because it's so nice to put names to faces. And one other thing I did want to mention is, you know, there were patches for sale and stickers and stuff like that. You know, for an event of this size, would it make sense that you could buy some sort of like package? I get that they want to keep it free and open and not have tickets for it, and that's great. But maybe some sort of optional package that you could buy and get like a shirt, a patch, whatever, just to make a little bit more revenue up front. So maybe it'd be easier to do things like having the mods stand out a little bit more. All these solutions are really easy after you've been to an event and you're in your basement talking about it and saying what people should have done. I am super aware none of that would have been easy and there would have been massive challenges. In the end, I had a great time. I met some new people that I wanted to meet. I saw some people again that I played with in Grove City that it was awesome to see again. And I think that's the general sentiment. I think a lot of people did have a good time, but there was definitely just that air of disappointment because again, so many people died the first day. Let me know what you thought. If you were at Endwar, I'd love to hear. I didn't get much into the actual gameplay or anything like that. All that was fun. When it was working great. Once I was a zombie, it was so hard to find humans. Judge. It was a good time. If you were part of that event, thank you very much. Even if you were one of the mods that I was like, you were a little bit grumpy, thank you for giving your time. I don't know what you're going through on the day, so I'm sure you did your best. I really appreciate that I got to run around, with some friends, armed to the teeth with my toy weapons, and fight off zombie hordes. I've said all I need to say. The event was a long time ago.